SLT Mobitel, the connection. SLT Mobitel, the connection.
ලෙන්ගතුකම වැඩි කරගන්න ලව්ජු රුපියල් 50ට අඩු කළා.
මාමේ එන්න අපිට එකක් බොමු.
Tonight, human rights abuse allegations. Main Tamil political parties seek an international probe in a letter to UN Human Rights Council. Lending an ear to the people, President Gotabaya looks into the human-elephant conflict grievances of the farmers. The way forward. UNP leader Ranil Wickramasinghe unimpressed with low-interest loan facilities.
It's better if the money was kept in the bank.
Also expresses skepticism on the stock market.
There may be a crash at some stage. These are all inflated.
Indiscipline. Police to crack down on self-isolating walkabouts. All that and much more coming up on First at 9. This Saturday, the 16th of January, 2021.
ඇල්කොහොල් අඩංගු hand sanitizer භාවිත කරන්න. ලෙඩ රෝග ඇති කරන විෂ බීජවලට එරෙහිව සටන් කරන්න. හඳුන්වා දීමේ මිල රුපියල් 350යි.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhammike Kanai. Now, throughout these troubled times, discipline had been key in keeping the COVID-19 virus at bay. Police are already cracking down on persons who do not adhere to health and safety guidelines. And now the police have also decided to launch an operation to ensure that those in self-isolation, in fact, adhere to the protocols without going walkabout. To this end, police officers in civil attire will be deployed in various areas of the country.
Authorities continue to ensure that despite there being COVID-19 infections confirmed on a daily basis, the island's economic activities continue uninterrupted under the new normal. The number of fresh coronavirus cases reported from the country so far today is 343. Meanwhile, yesterday the figure was 695, consistent with case numbers in high 600s the country had been confirming over the last several days. The Gampar district accounted for the majority of yesterday's infections with 168, while Colombo recorded 147 cases. In addition to this, 90 cases were reported from Kandy, 34 infections each were identified from Kaluthara and Gaul, 25 from Kegol, 23 from Vaunia and 20 from Mana. The remaining 154 infections were recorded from 12 other districts. In the meantime, 4 more COVID-19 related fatalities were also confirmed in Sri Lanka yesterday, taking the country's death toll to 255. According to the Department of Government Information, the victims were aged 60, 75, 78 and 90. The cause of death in all cases were reported as COVID pneumonia, while the 90-year-old had also suffered from bronchitis in addition to COVID pneumonia. Meanwhile, the police say that a new operation will be launched to crack down on those violating their home quarantine.
මේ වන විට ශ්‍රී ලංකාව පුරා පුද්ගලයින් 1,16,000ක් පමණ ස්වයං නිරෝධායනයේ නිරත වෙනවා. අද සිට විශේෂ මෙහෙයුමක් ආරම්භ කර තිබෙනවා. ස්වයං නිරෝධායනයේ යෙදෙන පුද්ගලයන් සිටින නිවාස ආශ්‍රිතව සිවිල් ඇඳුමින් සැරසුණු පොලිස් නිලධාරීන් යෙදවීමට එහිදී ඔවුන් ලබා ගන්නා තොරතුරු මත එසේ පිටවැන පුද්ගලයන් අත්අඩංගුවට ගැනීමටත් ඔවුන්ට එරෙහිව නඩු පැවරීමටත් ක්‍රියා කරනු ලබනවා. එමෙන්ම ඊයේ දිනේදී බුද්ධ්‍යාශ නිලධාරීන් වාර්තා කර තිබෙනවා පාසල් බස් රථ තුල ළමයින් අනාරක්ෂිතව රැගෙන යන බවට විශේෂයෙන්ම මුහුණු ආවරණ පැළඳීම දුරස්ථභාවය යන සංකල්පවලට පටහැනිව කටයුතු කරන බවට රථවාහන අංශවල පොලිස් නිලධාරීන්ට මේ ගැන අපි උපදෙස් ලබා දී තිබෙනවා. එවැනි සෞඛ්‍ය රීති වලට පටහැනි ආකාරයට රියදුරන් කොන්දොස්තරවරුන් හෝ සහායකින් කටයුතු කරනවා නම් ඔවුන්ට එරෙහිව නීතිය ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන ලෙසට පාසල් බස් රථවල රියදුරන් කොන්දොස්තරවරුන් සහායකින්ද ඉදිරියේදී rapid antigen පරීක්ෂණ සඳහා යොමු කිරීමට නියමිතව තිබෙනවා.
In terms of Sri Lanka's COVID-19 recoveries, there was a boost of the overall number today, with the recovery of 487 persons being confirmed today. With that, total recoveries in the island shot up to 44,746. Today's recoveries mean that the number of active coronavirus cases in Sri Lanka is at 6,936. According to the Health Promotion Bureau, there are also 612 persons under observation. In other developments, the status of isolation was lifted from 8 Grama Niladhara divisions located in 3 police areas at 5 am today. Accordingly, the Grama Niladhara divisions of Minnana, Bopatella, Vilegoda, Asgangula and Yakudagoda belonging to the Ahaliyagoda police area were brought out of isolation. In addition, the 675 Thotavatta Grama Niladhara division within the Panadura police area and the Grama Niladhara divisions of Magona East and Magona West belonging to the Berola police area were also freed from isolation. In the meantime, the Director General of Health Services granted approval for the resumption of tuition classes from the 25th of January with only 50% of the students' seating capacity allowed. He further requested that the tuition classes resume only for GCE Ordinary Level and GCE Advanced Level. He further stated that travelling between districts to attend tuition classes is also not allowed. The tuition classes can resume in all areas of the country except for those within the Western Province.
Pay just 500,000 rupees to reserve your unit today. Mulberry Residence.
Now, Regional Manager for the Southeast Asia region of the Sri Lankan Airlines, Mohan Migola, has said that Sri Lanka can commence charter flights to Myanmar from mid-2021 in the post-COVID-19 phase. The comments had come during a meeting chaired by Foreign Secretary Admiral Professor Jayanath Kolambage to discuss the possibility of establishing air connectivity with Myanmar. Participating at the meeting virtually, Sri Lanka's ambassador to Myanmar, Professor Nalinda Silva, has said that air connectivity between Sri Lanka and Myanmar has been discussed for a long time due to the significant Buddhist cultural connectivity between both countries. He further stated that around 300 Buddhist monks are presently studying in Sri Lanka, and there are many Sri Lankan bhikkhus and delegations visiting Myanmar for meditation and other religious purposes. He added that there is immense potential for medical tourism from Myanmar. The Government of Myanmar Tourism Association in particular and the President of Myanmar has conveyed his keen interest in establishing air connectivity between the two destinations. Foreign Secretary in his remarks had stated that initiation of flights to Myanmar will facilitate tourists from both sides, and it is timely as Sri Lanka is getting ready to open the airport on the 21st of January for tourists. He also stated that President Gotabaya Rajapaksa wishes to focus on immediate neighbours in South Asia in particular, and with Myanmar being one of Sri Lanka's closest maritime neighbours, there is huge potential to enhance trade links. Now then, Sri Lanka's main Tamil political parties have sought an international probe, including at the International Criminal Court, into allegations of human rights abuses during the civil war. An Indian media outlet says that in a joint letter dated 15th of January 2021 addressed to members of the UN Human Rights Council, the Tamil parties observed that leaders across the political spectrum in Sri Lanka, including from both the major political parties, have categorically and without exception stated that they will protect the Sri Lankan armed forces from prosecutions. The letter is said to urge member states to acknowledge that there is no scope for a domestic process that can genuinely deal with accountability in Sri Lanka. The letter is said to call on the UN Security Council and General Assembly to take suitable action by reference to the International Criminal Court and any other appropriate and effective international accountability mechanisms to inquire into the crime of genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity. It also reports that the letter sought an international evidence-gathering mechanism such as the one set up for Syria. The Indian media outlet notes that the Tamil parties said the persisting militarization and surveillance in war-affected areas and the denial of burial rights to Muslims during COVID-19 pandemic and the right to memory underscored the urgency of addressing the deteriorating situation. For the country to experience accelerated economic development in the new normal, having a trained, energetic workforce with the right sense of dignity is essential. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa made these remarks last evening during the official inauguration ceremony of registering the first batch of undergraduate students of the Benedict XVI Catholic Institution of Higher Education in Negombo. The head of state also reassured that more students will be enrolled during this year's intake to state universities.
For education, to be truly effective, it should be rooted in strong ethical and moral values. While I emphasize on reawakening of school education with all its components revamped, I also accord very high priority to achieve excellence in higher education. Some key components in this sector are to convert all universities to smart learning universities and commence technological faculties to produce more technocrats, expand the open university education system, enabling to provide more distance education opportunities, and upgrade and expand all state universities conforming to international standards. My policy framework also includes many initiatives to create and nurture a skilled society. For our economy to grow, particularly in the new normal environment, a trained, energetic workforce with the right sense of dignity of labor is essential so that we could achieve accelerated development. I'm very committed towards these education-centered initiatives and have established the necessary governance framework to achieve the set targets in a short period. The number of students who qualify to enter Sri Lanka's state universities is comparatively small. This is not due to the lack of capability of our students or of the secondary schools at which they learn, but more due to resource limitations in the state-funded higher education system. Our government has ensured that the state universities enroll more students in the next intake, particularly in the areas of medicine, engineering, IT, science and technological subjects. What is important, though, is that the graduates of such intakes are easily employable, filling a huge void in the employment market. Historically, our education system has been geared towards failing students and preventing their progress to higher stages of learning. While the government is committed to overhauling the overall education system to overcome this weakness, there is a tremendous role for institutions in providing able students with high quality degrees outside the state-funded higher education system.
We will see you shortly after this break. Stay with us. Now, leader of the United National Party, Ranil Wickremesinghe, says that the country's stock market is presently inflated and it could crash at some point. Though many people have taken to the stock exchange with their investments, the former Prime Minister believes it is largely unhelpful. Speaking to media today, he added that the low-interest loan facilities were also unnecessary and the money would have been better off in banks. As for the revival of the tourism sector, Wickremesinghe labelled the move to bring flight loads of Ukrainian tourists to the island short-sighted.
The economic process involved in this closing down of service sectors, others, the growth of certain other businesses means that there is a shakeout, and invariably there are people who have made money, but it's the top end. The poor people are worse off. So I think, secondly, the government debts have increased. First task is just get this under control. After that, these issues have to be addressed. If you don't address it, it's going to be really problematic. It also means creating new jobs, because if you look at the tourist sector, jobs are destroyed. Even in the apparel sector, some jobs are gone. So a completely restructured economy has to come into place. And what Sri Lanka is going to do, we have to decide. We just can't go on a apparel tourism industry. It's going to be a completely different social and economic world for which we are now looking and preparing plans for it.
The approach that the government has towards tourism right now, what do you think?
Tourism will not come around at least till end of this year, early next year. All depends how Corona is getting controlled. Now we are just opening without checking. This is the problem. If you open and say people from New Zealand to come, it'd be all right. But New Zealand will stop them from coming to Sri Lanka. Now we have imported the British variety. It's very short-sighted, especially the Ukraine ones, because Ukraine has been closed down. You got people without testing. Having got them without testing, some of them got Corona here. I don't know, to get a few thousand tourists, some say it's good to open, but most can't countries are rather very slow in doing it, and they are monitoring it. What they call the bubble concept in tourism is not working. If you bubble them up in a hotel, then what is the use of being there? If you allow them to go out. Now the serious thing here was that they were taking the Dalada Malika, which we don't visit now because we don't want to be in a crowd. Either we must inoculate everyone, then take the risk of opening up. Everything can't be done online in this country. All our agriculture is not online. Tourism is not online.
Former Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe was meanwhile questioned on measures government should take in tackling the issues faced by the SME sector.
First, you have to deal with the banks and the finance and the other lending agencies. They have a lot of non-performing loans. How do you give relief to them? So first is take the existing issue, then only know what is the money that is going to be available to you. Then you have given out, I think it's unnecessary. Loans at this such low rates, it's better if the money was kept in the bank. A lot of people are spending money on the stock exchange. It's not helping us. You've got to look at the total liabilities of the banks. This is why ratings are very important. It's not only our banks, abroad, everywhere. And then go from there, where are you going to create the capital? That's going to be the biggest issue for everyone. You've got to restart the whole thing. So are we going to send our debt up further? If you send the debt up, how are you going to service that international debt by many countries? Tourism also, we are catering to the low ends. Now they won't have money immediate to travel. So though you say COVID is over 2023 or under control, tourists to get real money will be about 2025, 2026. Purchasing power is going down. No?
What are your sentiments or thoughts on cryptocurrency and stock trading?
Cryptocurrency has to be relooked in the view of this issue. It is how much more will the global economy fall in this year. President-elect Biden is trying to pump $2 trillion into the system. If it doesn't work, it's going to be another issue.
We are actually a small fish compared to the big.
We are small fish, the big ones must, and then we must see how we survive. India is bad, Bangladesh, the whole region is bad. China is the only one with a positive growth, but when you have a growth of 7.5 and you come to 1.5, that's like someone of 2% going down to minus 0.5%. It's a down one. But China is trying to push up its domestic demand. Now, if that works and this 2 trillion works, then maybe these two engines can take the world up. So it's a question mark. Let's see what happens.
There's a big number of millennials participating in stock trading just because they have some spare money and they can.
If it comes down, it really comes down. Put your money in, take some out, and then play around with the others. There may be a crash at some stage. These are all inflated. Interest rates are cheap. People are going there, but it doesn't reflect the economy. It is just like going to a casino today. Luck is there, luck is there. The big thing is people are not selling their land, which means they know that's what is going to be value. Rupee can go up to even 220, 230.
Now, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa today heard the grievances of farmers over their struggles with the wild elephants. During an audience with the people, the head of state instructed relevant officials to look into the people's issues and resolve them immediately.
The sixth phase of the program Gama Samaga Pilisandarak, where the rural community is facilitated an audience with the head of state, was worked off today at the village of Vedikachia in the area of Madirigiriya in Polonnaruwa. Before his dialogue with the people, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa declared open a building of the Mahavali Primary School in Madirigiriya. The occasion was also attended by former President Maithripala Sirisena as well as State Ministers Siripala Gamlat and Roshan Ranasinghe. The opening of the school building was followed by the President's dialogue with the rural community.
අලිවට ගැමුණුපුර සිට දහම්වැව හරහා අක්බාපුර දක්වා ඉදි කරලා තිබෙනවා. නමුත් එම අලිවට මේ වෙනකොට අක්‍රීය තත්ත්වයේ පවතිනවා. එම අලිවට විදුලිය සක්‍රිය කරලා ඉදි කරලා දෙන්න කියලා ගරු ඔබතුමාගෙන් මම ඉල්ලා සිටිනවා.
ඒ ඉල්ලපු වෙනස් වීම කරන්න සැලසුම් හරි ගස්සලා තියෙන්නේ.
වර්තමාන අගමැතිතුමා හිටපු කාලේ 2013 වඩිගව ගල්පොත්තයිනෙන් මේ අලිවට ගැහුවා. ඒක හිතුවක්කාර ලෙස පහුගිය කාලේ හිටපු නිලධාරියෙක් ඒ අලිවට සම්පූර්ණ ඉවත් කළා යාය මැද දෙකට කරලා
ඒක ගහලා තියෙන අලිවට ගහලා තියෙන්නේ බවුන්ඩරි එකේ ගහලා තියෙන්නේ මායිමේ ගහලා තියෙන්නේ හරි මායිමේ නමුත් දැන් ඒකෙදි ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා නම් අපි ඒක ගලවල ඉවර වෙලා ඒක පස්සට කරන්න පියවර ගන්නවා
දැන් අපි තීරණයක් ගත්තනේ අර ඒගොල්ලෝ වගා කරපු ඒවා ඉදිරියටත් වගා කරන්න ඉඩ දෙන්නට ඒක පිළිබඳව මොකද්ද අරගෙන තියෙනවද මොන හරි
ගරු ජනාධිපතිතුමනි අපි දැන් පොළොන්නරුව දිස්ත්‍රික්කයෙන් තමයි ඒක පටන් ගන්න යන්නේ. ඒ අදාළ නිලධාරීන් සහ මේ දේශපාලන අධිකාරියත් එක්ක පාටි වෙලා සාකච්ඡා කරලා ඒ ඉඩම් නිදහස් කිරීමට අපි බලාපොරොත්තු.
ඕන කෙනෙක් තමන් වගා කරපු ඒවා තියෙනවා නම් දිගටම වගා කරන්න. ප්‍රශ්නේ තියෙන්නේ එහෙම වගා කිරීමේදී අර අලුතින් කැලෑ කැපීම විතරක් කරන්නට එපා.
මුතුන් මිත්තෝ කාලේ ඉඳලා අපි ගවයින් තමයි ඇති කරුවේ. ඒක ගවයින් අපි තියාගෙන හිටියේ බෙරවිල කියන ප්‍රදේශයේ. දැනට වනජීවියකේ නිලධාරි මහත්තුරු කරන සතියක් ඇතුළත අපේ හරක් අරගෙන යන්න කියලා. ගරු ජනාධිපතිතුමාට වැඳලා අපි කියන්නේ අපට රැකී රස්සා එපා. අපිට කොතනක හරි අපේ හරක් ටික රැකගෙන ජීවත් වෙන්න මග හදලා දෙන්නයි ඔබතුමාගෙන් මේ ඉල්ලන්නේ.
වනජීවියකෙන් වෙලා තියෙන්නේ තුමලා ඒකපාර්ශිකව මේ හරක් ටික එළියට ගන්න කියලා තද බල තැනක ඉන්නවා නඩු දානවා මේ ප්‍රශ්න දානවා. එතකොට මේ මිනිසුන්ට හරක් ගෙනියන්න තැනක් නැහැ.
කිරිගොවින් දාන්න දැන් හොයලා තියෙනවා. කන්දකාඩුව ප්‍රදේශයේ 3750ක් අක්කර හොයලා තියෙනවා.
එතකොට මේගොල්ලන්ට කොහොමද එච්චර දුර යන්නේ?
ඒ හරිය වතුරත් නැහැ.
හරක් හිටියාම වෙන්නේ දැන් උලා කෑමනේ සිද්ධ වෙන්නේ සර්. එතකොට අලින්ට තියෙන කෑම ටික නැතිලා තමයි සර් අලි එළියට බහැලා අලි ප්‍රශ්නේ වැඩි වෙලා තියෙන එක. ඒකම හරක් ගිහිල්ලා හරක් පුරවලට වතුර බොර වුණාම අලි ඒ වතුර බොන්නේ නැහැ. දැනට අර ඇතුලේ සුපෝෂණ කටයුතු කරලා වැව් ටික හැදුවට පස්සේ ওই ප්‍රශ්නේ විසඳනවා ජනාධිපතිතුමනි. අතිගරු ජනාධිපතිතුමනි ඔක පනත තුල තියෙන නීතියක් නේ නිසා පනත සංශෝධනය කරනවා නම් මේ කටයුතු කරන්න පුළුවන්.
දැනට මේ කට්ටියට ඉඩ දෙන්න. ඊට පස්සේ බලන්න මොකද්ද මේගොල්ලන්ට ඒ ප්‍රදේශයෙන්ම තෘණ භූමියක් හොයාගන්න පුළුවන්ද කියලා.
The chairman of the Ambilipitia and Balangoda urban councils have been removed by Governor of the Sabaragumunu province, Tikiriko Bekaduwa, pending investigations into allegations against them by a commission of inquiry. Now, as such, chairman of the Ambilipitia urban council, Lalit Dharmakirti, and chairman of the Balangoda urban council, Chamika Jaimini Vimalasena, have been removed from their positions. The relevant Gazette notification on the appointing of the Commission of Inquiry, dismissal of the chairman and transfer of power to deputy chairman had been issued by the governor yesterday. Retired High Court Judge Rohana Anrakumara has been appointed to investigate whether the two chairmen have committed any wrongdoings under the Urban Council's ordinance, while the governor has called for a report on the investigations within 3 months. We will see you shortly. Bear with us. Welcome back. This is First at 9. Now, a discussion had been held between Minister of Labour Nimal Siripal de Silva and the chairman of all Sri Lankan regional plantation companies yesterday. During the talks, a final proposal had been submitted towards ensuring a sustainable earnings model for the sector.
Under the final proposal, regional plantation companies are offering a fixed daily wage of 1,105 rupees with the reintroduction of attendance and productivity incentives, which they say is a feature that trade unions had strongly and consistently opposed in the past, but have since reversed their position in the most recent negotiations. As for the breakdown, the basic wage will be 700 rupees, while 105 rupees will go towards EPF and ETF. 150 rupees will be paid as attendance incentive, while a similar sum will be included as productivity incentive. The proposed fixed daily wage model will be implemented 3 days a week, and on the remaining days, RPCS have called for one of two productivity-based models to be implemented based on how suitable they would be to each RPC's capacity, enabling workers to earn more than the fixed 1,105 rupees. Under the productivity-linked component, employees can earn 50 rupees inclusive of EPF ETF for every kilo of tea leaf plucked. In the case of rubber, this would amount to 125 rupees inclusive of EPF ETF for every kilo of rubber latex. Alternatively, employees will be remunerated based on a revenue share model, offering greater earnings similar to what has long been practiced with success in the smallholder sector in Sri Lanka. Companies who do not wish to continue with either of these models will reserve the right at their sole discretion to continue with the standard daily wage system.
US stocks fell yesterday after President-elect Joe Biden unveiled a $1.9 trillion COVID-19 relief plan. The Dow Jones Industrial Average lost 0.6%, closing at 30,814.26, while the S&P 500 lost 0.7% to 3,768.25. The Nasdaq Composite dropped 0.9% to 12,998.5. Yesterday's decline cemented a down week for equities, with the Dow down 0.9%, with the S&P and Nasdaq both also falling 1.5%. The small-cap Russell 2000 bucked the trend, rising 1.5%. For several months, the markets have been riding a number of strong trends that have powered everything from large-cap stocks to Bitcoin to record highs. Underlying all of it had been a bet on government and central bank aid to offset the damage wrought by the pandemic. In the meantime, oil prices fell more than 2% yesterday, with both benchmarks, Brent crude and West Texas Intermediate crude, recording their first weekly declines for the new year. Now, Brent fell 2.3% to settle at $55.10 a barrel, while the U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude declined by 2.3% to settle at $52.36 a barrel. The benchmarks, which hit their highest in nearly a year earlier in the week, posted their first weekly declines in 3 weeks, with Brent down 1.6% on the week and U.S. crude down about 0.4%. Financial contracts have been boosted by strong equities and a weaker dollar, which makes oil cheaper, along with strong Chinese demand. A nearly $2 trillion COVID-19 relief package in the United States, unveiled by President-elect Biden, may increase oil demand for the world's biggest crude consumer. However, analysts say that this might not be enough to stoke demand. And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.